Welcome back to the channel. This is Life as We Know It. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. We truly appreciate it. I know it's been a minute, but we're back today with great content. Great content on the way. Great content again today. Today we're jumping into a bit of a documentary, a bit of a historic piece related to hip-hop music. Something I feel really passionate about, something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I've done a video on it before. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend going to check it out. And if you don't know what I'm talking about the XXL freshman cover / freshman list. Now, if you don't know, this list is super important, I feel like, to rap music. It's been around for a while. People always talk about it. It gets people going. So let's jump right into it. The XXL freshman list is pretty much an annual list, highly anticipated. It features pretty much the biggest artists in rap music. As we all know, XXL magazine is a big hip-hop publication. It's been around probably since the early 90s, if not longer, and it served as a platform for recognizing and highlighting what was supposed to be emerging hip-hop talent and, just talent in the rap industry in general. So, every year there's a list that comes out. There's a group of up to 10 artists. Sometimes I think there's been less historically, but ultimately these artists are put together to demonstrate their exceptional potential and the impact that they're supposed to have on the genre. Now, it features freestyles. It features them doing slight videos where I guess it's kind of like a one-off where, they almost just spit bars or just speak on something that's truly dear to them. Now, I personally feel like over time the list has began to decline. I know there are a few key elements of the XXL freshman list. A couple of these elements being just the selection process in general. I know the XXL team, editorial team in particular, they're supposed to be big music critics. They also consider fan input, and they ultimately curate the list of people. It's supposed to come from a very diverse talent pool, usually from different states, different genres, or as I always say, subgenres. I believe hip-hop has a lot of subgenres that we don't address enough, but ultimately they try to focus on who's eye-catching, who's captivating, who they feel like would make the list and add the most value to the world of hip-hop. Of course, the cover is always dope. You get to see all the artists, different poses, everybody's fitted and dressed to kill, so it's really dope. Another piece about this is the interviews and the features. They definitely do in-depth interviews to understand who the artists are. They give them a moment to cipher, to freestyle, and showcase their lyrical skills or just their unique style in general. Of course, there's a big career boost that comes with it for artists. Most of these artists are signed anyway, so it's probably something behind the scenes the label does, but ultimately it brings a lot of controversy for it and it gets a lot of debating going in hip-hop. It ultimately, I feel like every year it's always brought up, is hip-hop dead or is it currently alive? Now, I think the list does a great job of captivating and creating dialogue or just getting people to talk about rap music in general. However, I think since the list started in 2007, it's very clearly to see that it's on a very sharp decline. The list is almost a joke at this point. There's always artists that are featured that nobody knows who they are, never heard of them, or even people that wouldn't necessarily be considered freshmen. Maybe they've been rapping 10, 15 years, or they were signed to Lil Wayne or somebody, and now they're mysteriously on the freshman list when there's no hit song or anything of that sort. So I think the respect and just the level of recognition that it once held is definitely starting to decline, and we're going to dive into it. I ultimately plan on going through each of the lists and, cover by the cover, we're going to talk about it and really discuss in depth how the XXL freshman cover list has declined. So, as I said before, the list started in 2007. The very first freshman list featured, it was very humble beginnings: Saigon, Plies, Rich Boy, Lupe Fiasco, Lil Boosie, Gorilla Zoe, Joel Ortiz, Crooked Eye, Papoose, and Young Dro. Now, this accurately, I feel like, represents XXL hip-hop, or just hip-hop at that time. I have to say I was kind of young at this time, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I was listening to all of these rappers. I think realistically I probably heard Lil Boosie from Wipe Me Down. I know Lupe Fiasco, he was dropping like crazy. He had a song with Kanye, a bunch of other people, so of course him. Plies, I think everybody heard Plies growing up. I know who Joel Ortiz is, but can't say I heard too many songs by him. Gorilla Zoe, Young Dro. But I feel like overall this is like a list that really encompasses hip-hop at this time, and It really takes into account who the potential leaders of the new school are. Now, I think we also have to consider and make sure we acknowledge that none of these guys are currently relevant. Probably with the exception of Flies and Lil Boosie, you don't really hear about anybody else. You hear about Papoose with Remy Ma recently with the drama they had. Not sure if it's true, not sure if it's not. I don't want to put that false information out there. But I think ultimately Papoose' rapping skills are what got him on the list. And it's fair to say he probably does deserve to be on there. I do love his song Black Love, so shout out to Papoose. Hopefully everything is going well. But I have to say, I think this list is probably one of the more accurate lists, especially as we begin to get closer to 2023. So let's keep going. So jumping right into the next list, I'm not quite sure why, but XXL actually never did a 2008 freshman cover. Not sure why. I couldn't figure out why. I tried to do some research on it, but jumping right into it, the people that they did feature on this list at that time were Wale, B.O.B., Asher Roth, Charles Hamilton, Ace Hood, Currency, Kid Cudi, Corey Guns, Blue, and Mikey Facts. I think this list overall is very accurate. I do also like how they did 3 different covers, 3 different poses. They really grouped all the artists together. I have to say overall, I think this list is really accurate for what I remember in 2009. If I remember correctly, I think 6 Foot, 7 Foot was out around that time. So I'm not surprised that Corey Guns is on here. However, I have no clue who Blue or Mikey Facts are. No disrespect to them if you guys are a fan or if you're tuning in. Of course, Ace Hood. I was a big Ace Hood fan, so love Ace Hood. I'm glad he got his flowers, especially when he was really popping around that time. Hopefully DJ Khaled let him out of that deal. I mean, Kid Cudi, with no surprise, along with Currency, still very relevant, still very much popping, doing their thing. So I think those two definitely aged well with the list. Then we got Wale, B.O.B., Asher Roth, and Charles Hamilton. Now, I know B.O.B., Asher Roth, and Wale were definitely popping at one time. Even now, I think, you know, if you were to play some Wale or even old school B.O.B. or Asher Roth song, a party or something might go crazy. However, B.O.B., Asher Roth, and Charles Hamilton are definitely not relevant in this day and age. I don't even know who Charles Hamilton is, but shout out to him. He clearly was dope enough to make the cover around the time. Sounds like maybe it just didn't age well in terms of him, but Wale is still very much a staple. I think Wale in general is very much slept on, but his art is amazing, and I mean, I think he's still very much relevant. Maybe not back in the day like when they had Twitter memes where they were calling them trash cans and all of that. However, I do think overall Wale is still very relevant, and this list did age pretty well. I mean, pretty decent. I mean, what do we have? Like 4, 5 people out of potentially 10 people that are actually still popping, doing their thing. So I don't think that's a bad list. I think that was a good selection on the XXL's part. I think they were really in tune with who was up and coming, especially a guy like Currency. Currency was signed with Young Money around this time. I don't think he had quite gone independent yet. Maybe he did. It's almost 2010 where he linked up with Wiz, but I don't know. I think this is a really dope list overall, and I have to give XXL the salute. So I don't think this is quite the decline. We still got a couple more covers to go, but let's keep going. The next cover on the list is the 2010 XXL freshman cover list, or freshman class. Now, this is personally one of my favorites. I think this one is definitely one of the most accurate lists, and it also has a bunch of my favorite rappers on it. Now, not gonna hold up too much more. Jumping right in, people that were featured on this list: J. Cole, Pill, Nipsey Hussle, Wiz Khalifa, OJ the Juice Man, Freddie Gibbs, Big Sean, J-Rock, Fashawn, and Donna. Now, I'm just gonna say it. J. Cole, I mean, we see where J. Cole has gone since 2010, so I think there's no question in terms of his progress or his progression. Same with Nipsey Hussle, same with Wiz Khalifa, same with Freddie Gibbs, same with Big Sean, J-Rock. And I mean, that's a decent part of the list already. That's at least 5 people. Now, there's list totals of 10 people. I mean, it's very clear that, I mean, it seems like at least every list, there's always 5 people for some reason. I don't know why. I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but it seems like there's always 5 artists that tend to make it and continue on to the next level or become superstar rappers. This list, we got 5 of them. Rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. Definitely independent and I personally think he would have been bigger, especially if he would have had a little bit more time to live, maybe dropped another album. He probably would have been a superstar, or at least on his way to being a superstar. But I think this is a good list overall. Like I said, I think XXL was in their bag for a good amount of time. But for some reason, I don't know, maybe the staff changed or what changed, but definitely dropped the ball. I'm not sure who Peel is. I know who OJ the Juice Man is. Shout out to him. Land a legend. For Sean and Donis and Peel, I'm not sure who you guys are, but hopefully you guys are doing well if you're watching this. And let's keep going. Going on to the next list, we're looking at the XXL freshman list for 2011. Now, this is by far one of my favorite lists, and let's just jump right into who's on it. We got Meek Mill, Big Crit, Sci-Hi the Prince, Lil Twist, Yellow Wolf, Fred the Godson, Mac Miller, YG, Lil B, Kendrick Lamar, and Diggy Simmons. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably like, why is this list your favorite, especially with somebody like Diggy Simmons on the cover? And it's a simple answer for me. You know, some of my favorite artists of all time are on here. We got Kendrick Lamar, we got Mac Miller, two legends within themselves, especially Kendrick Lamar. I think it goes without saying. Meek Mill, and this is when Meek Mill was definitely at like his peak, when he was dropping the Dream Chasers mixtapes. He had a song with Drake that was going crazy. Big Crit has always been an underground king and has been doing his thing. Sci-Hi the Prince is one of my favorites. I don't know if he's still signed with Good Music, but I know he was writing a lot of stuff for Kanye. And if you haven't checked out any of his projects, I definitely recommend checking them out. Really introspective, really deep, crazy story out of Atlanta, Stone Mountain. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking him out. I don't have too much connection with Lil Twist, not too much connection with Yellow Wolf. I think Fred the Godson is deceased, rest in peace, but not too much connection with him and his music. YG, I have a love-hate relationship, but I think overall YG is a really dope artist. I think he just needs to expand a little bit more outside of just the gang banging and maybe get a little bit more creative with the art. But overall, I think his music is dope. I just would like to see him get weirder, as Kendrick said. Lil B, I think he's a rap legend, but not necessarily for rapping, mainly for trolling and just being who he is.
With me, bitch, I'm kinda stressed. I don't have enough sex, and I fucking need to stress. I'ma go to Starbucks in the morning for some coffee. If it ain't a girl there, I won't buy no damn coffee.
And then, of course, we got Kendrick and Diggy Simmons, but yeah, I don't have to reiterate those. Overall, I think this list is definitely a pass. I think this was one of their better lists. I mean, just on this list alone, I mean, if we're going off pure rapping ability, I think everybody on this list has some type of rapping ability, has some type of skill, even Lil B, even Diggy Simmons, even Lil Twist. Now, in terms of where they're at now and how important they are, relevance, I mean, there's only a few people from this list that are really still relevant. Meek Mill, Big Crit, Sci-Hi the Prince, Mac Miller, rest in peace, YG. Lil B is still very much relevant and popping, cursing KD and all of that.
Fuck Kevin Durant. Fuck Kevin Durant. Fuck Kevin Durant.
And of course, the king himself, Kendrick Lamar. So I think XXL did a great job with this cover. I don't think this is one of their worst picks that they did. And I think this is probably one of the better covers they have. I think the decline is probably going to come a little bit later on, but let's just keep focused and let's keep going. Next on the list is the 2012 XXL freshman cover. Now this list included Future, Kid Ink, Danny Brown, French Montana, Macklemore, Don Tripp, Machine Gun Kelly, Hobson, and then 10th spot winner Iggy Azalea and Roscoe Dash. Now, I think this list overall was probably one of the weaker lists. I think Future's dope. I think Kid Ink at the time was dope, even though you really don't hear about him anymore. I've also heard him mentioned on like some show as like a joke. Like, hey, remember we went to that Kid Ink concert? So I think that's pretty much says where that's at in this current time. I think it was Atlanta or something like that. But Danny Brown, still very much relevant, even though it's not necessarily for rap. And the rap albums that he do drop, I'm sure they're not charting that well. I'm sure not a lot of people are listening to him. French Montana, I mean, very famous guy, but we all have jokes about French Montana. very easy to say. Macklemore, I mean, Macklemore's still doing his thing. I'm not a big Macklemore fan. I still think Kendrick should have won the Grammy over him. I was actually having this debate recently with one of my friends. But shout out to Macklemore. Glad he was able to make the list, and hopefully he's thriving. We got Don Tripp, who I'm not quite sure who he is, but I always see his videos and stuff pop up on my YouTube. Not really a fan. Not really I can't name 5 Don Tripp songs, no disrespect to him. Machine Gun Kelly, still very much relevant, still very much popping. Hopsin, I mean, I haven't heard too much from Hopsin lately, but I know Hopsin is independent and he drops as he pleases. So I'm sure he'll pop up soon or with something and it'll probably go viral. Maybe he's even retired from rap. I know a lot of rappers, especially older rappers, are not dropping as much, not popping up as much. So I'm not sure where Hopsin is, but hopefully he's doing well. Iggy Azalea definitely should not have been a freshman winner, as we've seen. There's been no progression. I think most of the fans or people that do still pay attention to Iggy Azalea at this point are now doing it because of Playboi Carti. And last but certainly least, we got Roscoe Dash. I mean, I don't think anybody's talking about Roscoe Dash anymore. And yeah, I can't name anybody in the 5 years that really has. So I think it's fair to say this list, realistically, the only relevant person, when I say relevant, I use it lightly, meaning still popping, still has hits out here, is really just Future. I haven't heard a hit from any of these other people, but shout out to Future. Future's been doing his thing, and let's keep going. Next on the list is the 2013 XXL freshman cover. This is definitely a good list in my opinion. We got Schoolboy Q, Trinidad James, Joey Badass, Ab-Soul, Logic, Action Bronson, Kirk O'Banks, Travis Scott, Dizzy Wright, and Angel Hayes and Chief Keef as the 10th spot winners. Now, I think off rip, we can all agree that this list is fire. Schoolboy Q, I don't even have to say anything. That man is been putting on for a very long time. Trinidad James, very fire. Definitely fell off after All Gold Everything, in my opinion. And I mean, he's since made a return. I know I've been hearing his music circulating. I'm not saying it's being played in masses or on the radio or anything of that sort, but definitely in the rotation for some people. Joey Badass, I don't think I have to say too much. This man has gone from rapper to actor, and his acting bag has been crazy. He's been on Mr. Robot. I've seen him on all kinds of shows. So, actor, rapper, model, I mean, singer, like the list goes on. Ab-Soul. This is one person who I feel like should definitely be further along and have a little bit more mainstream success, but I don't know what's missing there. I don't know what's going on. I was really sad to hear that Ab-Soul tried to take his own life, but I'm glad that he's thriving. I'm glad he's alive. His album, I'm glad that he was able to release it and continue to put out music. So hopefully he can get that respect that he deserves. Logic, he's pretty relevant still. Can't say too much about Logic. Action Bronson, same thing. Kirk O'Banks, which to me, I felt like he was the original blueprint for what Drake should have been or what Drake was trying to be, but I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if maybe he just didn't drop an album. I'm not sure if maybe the marketing team and his label didn't do what they were supposed to do, but definitely was fire back in the day. I could definitely see him making the list in 2013, even though he's not that relevant now. Travis Scott, I don't have to say too much. We all know where Travis Scott is. Dizzy Wright, he at the time very much popping, very much doing his thing. Haven't heard too much from Dizzy Wright, but I'm sure he's still cooking and making music. Angel Hayes, I've seen her before, but I'm not too familiar with her music. I haven't heard anything from her recently, but hopefully she's doing good. And of course, Chief Keef. We can't forget about Chief Keef, who didn't even show up for this list, of course, but definitely legend, definitely out here doing his thing, definitely influenced an entire generation, and everybody's currently trying to be him. Not everybody, but definitely a lot of the younger kids, a lot of the younger artists. But he's definitely doing his thing and definitely still making a big impact, still relevant. So I think this list is definitely one of the better lists. I have to say XXL and their team did a great job when they selected this one. And let's keep going. Next up is the 2014 XXL freshman list. Now this was also a really good list. It included Chance the Rapper, Rich Homie Quan, Isaiah Rashad, Ty Dolla $ign, Lil Durk, Kevin Gates, Troy Ave, Vic Mensa, Lil Bibby, John Connor, Jaren Benton, and August Alsina. Now, a lot of these people on this list are definitely not relevant, but it has some of my favorite artists, including Vic Mensa. I think Vic Mensa is really dope. Chance the Rapper is also very amazing. I think his last album, a lot of people were really disappointed, but I think overall Chance is a really good rapper, a really good artist. Isaiah Rashad, I don't have to say too much. That man is spectacular. Everything he drops is fire. I don't think I've ever heard a trash song come from his catalog. Ty Dolla $ign, super versatile, has a new project with Kanye on the way. I think that says a lot. We've seen how much Dirk has grown. I mean, even if you look at this picture on the freshman cover, this is not the same Dirk that we see today. Definitely grown, definitely evolved, definitely a superstar in rap music right now. Kevin Gates, very much a superstar, but more so for social media antics. But Kevin Gates can rap his ass off. He has some good songs as well. Troy Ave, not too much from him. I know he has a couple platinum plaques and he is independent, so he's probably getting all the money, but I can't say too much about Troy Ave other than, I mean, I know there was a nightclub shooting with him and Tax Stone, and I think both of them are going to jail, unfortunately, but, you know, hopefully they keep their heads held high. Lil Bibby is on the freshman list, and it's crazy because, you know, he really gravitated out of even rap music. He's not a rapper. He's not actively rapping. If you guys don't know, he's the CEO and president of a label. He actually is responsible for signing Juice WRLD and Kid Laroi and bringing them to the forefront. So big shout out to Lil Bibby. John Connor, I'm not quite sure who that is, if I'm being completely honest, but shout out to him. Jaron Benton, same thing, never heard of him. And August Alsina, Mr. Entanglement himself. But I think overall, August Alsina has a very fire catalog. I'm glad to hear that he's in better spirits and in better health. I know he did take a break away from music for a long time because of his health issues, but hopefully that man is thriving. Hopefully he's doing good. And I mean, yeah, I think overall this is a good list. I think XXL was in their bag. They definitely were paying attention musically, peeping who was out, who was on the come up, and they chose based off of what they believed, and I think it was a good choice. The one thing that threw me off is August Alsina has never really been a rapper. He's always been like an R&B singer, and I thought XXL was meant to specifically focus on rappers, but all in all, I'm glad he got his shine. Let's keep going. Next up on our list is the 2015 XXL cover. Now, this list included Dej Loaf, Fetty Wap, Gold Link, K-Camp, OG Maco, Rory, Shy Glizzy, Tink, Vince Staples, and a 10th spot winner, Kid, which I'm really not sure why Kid got on this. Kid, I don't think I've heard a song from him since back when Young Money had Bedrock or something of that sort. So this really confused me, like I haven't heard about Kid since Bedrock or something of that sort with Lil Wayne. So just really confusing, not sure what label paid for him to be on here or what XXL was thinking with that pick at all. But staying focused on the artists that do matter. Dej Loaf was one artist I feel like they really did their time and paid attention to. Dej Loaf was popping around this time. She went on tour with Nicki Minaj. She had her songs popping, including Try Me. So I'm not too much surprised about that. Same with Fetty Wap. Fetty Wap had an entire album of just literally just hit after hit after hit. Not so much sure about how he ended up where he is now in prison and all of that. I'm guessing mainly the money just slowed down. He wasn't able to continue making hits. Times also changed, but really was a great pick on his end as well. Gold Link, I'm not quite sure what they were thinking. Gold Link was very much popping at the time, especially in the SoundCloud underworld. But the one thing about Gold Link, I've always heard people say he's problematic and not really easy to work with. His music also hasn't really transcended well into the newer 2020s, 2023 and such. So I don't think that was the best pick on their end. K-Camp was an artist where he was buzzing at the time. Really interesting story. He had a lot of songs popping off, and then he kind of just disappeared for a very long time and began independently working and releasing music from his house and from his own record label, signing his own artists. And as far as I could say, I think K-Camp is very much a superstar, very much an industry hit maker, very much a project hit maker, and is still very much relevant in this day and age. OG Maco, I know he had his health issues and, you know, unfortunately battled what he battled. But OG Maco was definitely somebody out here that was set in the forefront. He was one of QC's biggest artists at one point. I think he's still signed with QC now. They ultimately just won't let him drop. But, oh man, OG Maco was one of my favorites, especially back in high school. So I definitely was excited when I saw him on this list. Rory was another artist where, you know, he was really dope from Atlanta as well. And you know, he had his own style. He even had Ruby Rose in one of his early videos as a model, but I don't think his music transcended well. I'm not quite sure what happened to him, but hopefully he's good. Shy Glizzy, not really relevant in my opinion. I know he had a couple hit songs back in the day, but hasn't transcended well. Tink is still kind of, you know, I've heard her name circulating, but more so for beating up her producer, boyfriend, hitmaker. Vince Staples still doing his thing. Very much popping, very much alive, very much dropping music, very much relevant, and a dope rapper as well. I have nothing bad to say about Vince, but I think overall this list was probably not one of their best lists, and definitely a list where you can definitely see their team lacking and starting to decline on their music and just some of the picks that they made. I'm still trying to understand this Kid pick. Like, where in the hell in 2015 was Kid popping? What song did he drop? I don't remember any of that. I was in high school. I've never heard anybody play a Kid song in high school, so really confused about that, but let's keep it going. Now, the 2016 freshman cover, I think, is by far the best freshman cover that they've ever dropped. It's the 9th annual edition. In my opinion, I think this was the peak right before the decline. They were really in their bag here. It was a new wave, a lot of new artists popping, new sounds. Mumble rap was being considered a thing. A lot of older people were upset about it. But in my opinion, this list is by far the peak right before the decline of the XXL. Now, this list included 10 spot winner Lil Yachty, Designer, Dave East, Denzel Curry, G Herbo, Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Dicky, Anderson .Paak, 21 Savage, and Kodak Black. By far the weakest person on this list is Designer, and even now Designer still relevant, still popping, not so much for music, more so for antics, including his playing antics. But with the exception of Designer, everyone on this list is doing significantly better than they were here and is still actively relevant. Now, I know it's not that long ago, but just the fact that they're still popping, especially with music changing, taste changing, new artists popping, especially after 7 whole years in the music industry, I think that's a lot right there. Now, Lil Yachty, we just saw him featured on Drake's album. He has a ton of writing credits on there. He's actively doing his thing. Like I just said, Designer, not so much music. I think he is no longer on Good Music with Kanye and everyone else. I think that label as a whole is just disbanded, but Designer has no music popping and is more so known for his social media antics. Dave East is actively independent and rapping his ass off, as well as doing acting, so very dope transition for the man. We got Denzel Curry rapping his ass off, project after project. Can't say anything bad about Denzel. He even cleaned up his hair, no more dreads. I like his dreads, but got a whole new look and is actively thriving. G Herbo is definitely way more or further ahead than he was previously, at least rap wise. He is going to have to go sit down and do some time in jail. I believe in the feds about 5 years, but I think overall G Herbo is definitely on the come up, and I mean, he's more famous than he is now. He's probably richer than he is now, and hopefully he's not doing fraud and everything is good. All his money is good. All his assets are together. We got Lil Uzi Vert. I mean, what can I say? This man is a superstar. We talk about him on the channel a lot, so I don't think there's too much to say here. Lil Dicky, not so much rapping anymore, but I know he has a TV show on FX that's probably on season 2, probably going to get renewed for 2 more seasons. So shout out to Lil Dicky. Anderson .Paak doing his thing, signed with Dr. Dre, beats commercials, all type of production, all type of projects. Easily the most versatile artist in my opinion on this list. I think he can do what everyone else on this list is doing, but I don't think everybody on the list can do what he is doing. We got 21 Savage, who is still popping, just came off of a tour and an album with Drake. So I know 21 is going to go on an overseas tour and do his thing over there, especially because he just got his green card. He got a new look. So shout out to 21 Savage. And last but certainly not least, Kodak Black. I mean, he's known for his antics. He's known for his music. I think every week or every month, Kodak is doing something questionable or somebody's saying something, but definitely still relevant. There's no one on this list right now that you could say isn't relevant or isn't doing something. Except Designer, like literally except Designer. But I think everyone else on this list is actively thriving, doing their thing. This was a great list. Shout out to the XXL magazine team for picking them, and let's keep going. The 2017 XXL freshman list, I think overall is pretty dope. I think that a lot of these artists were artists that should have been on the 2016 list in reality, but because it's a limited amount of spots, they couldn't all make it, so they tried to push a lot of these artists over. To jump right into it, we got A Boogie with the Hoodie, Amine, Cap G, Kamaya, Kyle, Made in Tokyo, Playboy Cardi, PNB Rock, Ugly God, and the 10th spot winner XXX Tentacion. Rest in peace. Now, like I said, I think a lot of these people were 2016 contenders that probably just didn't get in. Perfect example, Playboy Cardi. I think him and Uzi are definitely the same generation. They were popping the same time. XXX Tentacion, same generation. Made in Tokyo, same generation. A Boogie with the Hoodie, same generation. They even tried to market it as like Generation Next, but I'm not buying it. I think a lot of these people should have been on last year's list. But of course, there's only 10 spots, so 2017 makes the most sense. I think overall this list is pretty irrelevant. A lot of these artists, like I said, are still popping or actively doing something still. A Boogie with the Hoodie still out here making his rounds, still dropping projects, still getting a lot of love. Amine, I know he did a project with K Tronada. I haven't heard him buzzing as much since he did this. Cap G, same thing. Kamaya, she's independent, so I think a lot of her buzz is still independent and on a lower scale. Not to say that she's less than or any of that sort. I think Kamaya is really dope. I think her music is fire. Shout out to her and Jay Worthy for their new collab tape. I gotta finish listening to it, but I think she's not as big as she should be, but she's definitely on the way there. Kyle, not as much. I know he's also independent now. He left the label, so not as much marketing probably. You don't hear about him as much. Made in Tokyo, he's also independent now. I noticed one thing too, I have to say, a lot of these artists are independent now on this list, but Made in Tokyo, still making music, still independent. He dropped a tape last year that was really fire. If you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out. Playboy Cardi, I kind of want to just make the joke and say he doesn't make music at this point. I don't think he's dropped anything like solo wise this year at all. PNB Rock, rest in peace, no longer here, but I think he was also independent towards the end of his career. Ugly God, I know he's currently being convicted for a murder charge. Not quite sure what happened. His music was kind of parody music anyway. I'm not sure if he should have really been on this list, but ultimately Ugly God, definitely not as relevant anymore. And like I said, last but not least, XXX Tentacion, who actually just crossed 1 billion streams on Spotify, one of the most listened to artists, definitely in the top 10. I want to say he's right under Kanye. He might even be at number 5 or 6, but fire music, generational artist, and I think his music is going to live on. Unfortunately, he's not here to live on and go on tour and be able to see the success and the fruits of his labor. But overall, dope artist, and I'm glad that they gave him his flowers while he was here and allowed him to be on the cover. And yeah, I think this was a good list. Not quite the decline, but starting to become the peak of it. I feel like if this were the tip of a mountain, this is like the right side where you're starting to walk down the hill. So it's not quite the bottom. It's still very much close to the top, but you know, still very close to the top. So I think this was a good list, and let's keep it going. The 2018 freshman list, in my opinion, is where the decline actually starts to take place. I'm not going to say this is the worst list, but I think this is definitely the start to one of the worst lists. Jumping right into it, it included Ski Mask the Slump God, Lil Pump, Smoke Perp, JID, Stefflon Don, Block Boy JB, YB and Namir, Wi-Fi's Funeral, and Trippie Redd. Now, if we're just going off current relevance, we got Ski Mask the Slump God, JID, and Trippie Redd that are still actively making music that people actually want to hear. People are looking for their music. I can't tell you the last time I heard somebody play a Lil Pump or a Smoke Perp song. I can't tell you the last time I heard a Stefflon Don. I was a big fan of her in 2017, 2018, but I haven't heard anything. Block Boy JB, I don't have to say anything. YB and Namir, I don't have to say anything. Wi-Fi's Funeral, I mean, I've seen the guy on Vlad TV, but I really can't tell you 5 songs by the guy. I can't tell you anything about him. I only know that I think he got beat up at an XXX Tentacion concert, and he was a part of the group along with him and Ski Mask, so I don't know where he's at. Hopefully he's doing good. Hopefully he's sober and living a healthy life, but ultimately I don't think he should have been on the cover. I'm not hating or anything like that. I just can't name any songs. I don't even see him relevant right now, so how is this the next generation of hip-hop? I know every year they pick themes and try to go along with them, and this theme was We Got Clout, but I think clout doesn't always equate to musical talent, especially lyricism, and we really just have to burn this whole list with the exception of the artists that I named. Shout out to Ski Mask, shout out to JID, shout out to Trippie Redd. And even Stefflon Don. Shout out to Stefflon Don because she definitely held it down for the women. And at that time, she was really popping. Hopefully, she's doing well as well. And let's keep it going. Now, by 2019, I think we got so far away from lyricism, with the exception of a few people once again, that I really don't know what to say. I don't know what XXL was thinking with this list. Jumping right into it, the 2019 freshman class included The Baby, Megan Thee Stallion, YB and Cordae, Rico Nasty, Gunna, Comethazine, Tierra Whack, Lil Mosey, Rowdy Rich, Blueface, and YK Osiris. Now, I think there's a lot of people on here that have the potential to do lyricism and are really dope at it, like The Baby, even Megan Thee Stallion, both of them, especially their songs together, pre-Tory Lanez, were very fire. Shout out to Megan Thee Stallion, hopefully she's doing well and thriving. YB and Cordae is pretty dope, but honestly, I'm not the biggest fan. I don't think he's all that crazy. Rico Nasty is fucking phenomenal, and shout out to her, hopefully she's thriving out there. Gunna, like I said, not really a lyricist, but also is a great artist. Definitely somebody who probably should have been on that cover. We got Comethazine, and don't get me wrong, at the time Comethazine was very fire. I think he had just got signed, was dropping a lot of music, and it was on point, but I don't hear too much about him now. I don't think he's a lyricist at all, or even represents what the list was initially supposed to embody. We got Tierra Whack, who is the epitome of what XXL was initially meant to embody and look for and put to the forefront. We got Lil Mosey, who I haven't heard a song from. I know he was fighting a rape charge. I know he beat it. He's free now, and hopefully he's good. But other than the Blueberry Faygo song, I can't name any songs by Lil Mosey. Rowdy Rich, who the internet has been clowning for some time now. Not really a lyricist, but he does make dope music. I would put him more as like an R&B singer / rapper, but ultimately he would be a rapper, but not really a lyricist. Really dope music, but wasn't quite sure what they were thinking in terms of his pick. I do think Rowdy Rich is still relevant. I think his music is dope. I'm not even saying he doesn't deserve it. I think he definitely does. He's one of the better artists on this list. But just in terms of what the XXL freshman cover started as, it's just crazy to see it evolve into picking an artist like Rowdy Rich to represent LA, where before it was a Kendrick or Absol, a J-Rock, or all those different people. So it's just crazy to me how sounds change. Same for Blueface. Blueface, I guess you could put him in like a meme rapper, somewhat of a lyricist bag. He definitely has bars when he wants to, but I don't think he's very serious overall as a rapper. I think he's really just doing it for the money. Blueface, baby. I mean, it's in his name, so not too much else to say about that, but shout out to Blueface. YK Osiris, not a lyricist, not really a rapper in my opinion, more so of a singer, but he made the list. Shout out to him, but I don't know any songs by YK Osiris besides Worth It and Perfect that really would put him in the list for something like this, because he's not a lyricist. So just really interesting to see how the list kind of has shifted since it began in 2007 to where it is now. And let's keep going. Now the 2020 list, I know this is pandemic season. I know a lot of people probably didn't even know this list came out, including myself. So I was really surprised to see this one and peep out some of the list of the people involved with it. This list included Polo G, Cowboy, NLE Chopper, Lil Key, Chica, Lil TJ, Jack Harlow, Baby Keem, Rod Wave, Mulatto, 5 Foreign, and Tim Spot winner 24 Karat Golden. Now this list has very little to no lyricists at all, and the reason why I keep emphasizing this is because the list was created to showcase who was up next in rap, as well as who was the lyricist to watch. Now we're talking about who's up next, who is currently popping, who really represents the list. I think Mulatto is number one here in my opinion. Easily the most lyrical, easily the most versatile. She can make hits, she can rap her ass off, so I have to give her the number one spot. I think number two would be Polo G. Polo G is also a lyricist in my opinion. He does sing rap, or very melodic rap, but Polo G is definitely spitting. Polo G has bars on top of bars. Hopefully his gun case and all the charges he's able to beat and get back to dropping music. Oh, I think Cowboy is dope, but I'm not the biggest fan of Cowboy. He did have a show before that I saw. He actually opened up for 21 Savage, and it was pretty dope to see him. I didn't know that much about him. I think it was probably one of his first tours, and he had the song Envy Me, which was popping at the time, which is the main reason why I think he made the list. But shout out to him. Very much deserving. In no particular order of lyricists anymore. I mean, if I was, I'd probably go Jack Harlow at number 3 before Cowboy. and then probably number 4 with Baby Keem. But just in terms of sheer catalog, I think all of these artists are popping. Can't forget Sheikah, she'd probably be number 5. In terms of lyricists, I'm not the biggest fan of Lil TJ, not the biggest fan of NLE Chopper. Rest in peace, Lil Keed. I was a big Lil Keed fan. So, I'm really sad to see him gone, but another person I'm glad they were able to get their flowers while they were here. Not the biggest fan of Rod Wave. Another sing rapper who I'm not sure why he's on the list. When I say sing rapper, I mean like he kind of borders more so R&B, but they just kind of classify him as a rapper. But shout out to Rod Wave. I know he actually had the #1 rap album on the chart, so shout out to him. I'm sure he's thriving. I'm sure he's doing well. Not the biggest fan of 5EO Foreign, but 5EO's on the list. I'm not going to say too much on that. I'll just leave that one alone. Shout out to Baby Keem, and then 24 Karat Golden. I've heard some songs by him, but nothing too crazy in my opinion. But I think this list is it's a decent list. It's a decent list, but in terms of sheer lyricism, it's just lacking. And I know that's ultimately what the list was started for. But we're talking about up and coming artists to watch. I think a lot of these artists are definitely relevant and still growing, and it's still kind of early. This is 2020. We're only in 2023, so maybe we have to give it a little bit more time. But I'm curious to see how they grow. I think out of all of these lists, Mulatto is probably going to be the biggest one. Her and Polo G, especially Polo G. Jack Harlow, I think is probably going to simmer down, and we'll see. Let's keep it going. The 2021 freshman list came with the theme of Out of This World. Now, this was a list I wasn't too in tune with. I didn't pay too much attention to it. I think by last year, or the previous year, meaning 2020, just the state of the world, I wasn't too focused on this. I was mainly focused on staying alive and a couple other things, but I am glad that they continue to put content out and push new content. This list included Murray, Ian Dior, Lakika, 10 spot winner DDG, 42 Doug, Ruby Rose, Blast, Pooh Shiesty, Tusi, Coi Leray, and Flo Milli. Now, I think this list is, I don't know how this list is going to age. I haven't heard too much from Murray, and it's only been 2 years. I know he dropped a debut album. Not sure how it sold. I didn't really even hear people talking about it too much. Outside of maybe J. Cole. I know J. Cole did put him on an album. So, I mean, it was a big look for him, but it didn't make me go listen to his music. But I see he is on here. Hopefully he's thriving. Hopefully he's doing well. Same with Ian Dior. Same with Lakika. Same with, Ruby Rose's music. Same with Coi Leray's music. I think there's a couple people on this list that, their music hasn't necessarily kept up with their social media hype. However, somebody like DDG who has more hype and then the music hasn't caught up. So there's two sides of that coin, but I think DDG, he's definitely going to continue to grow, mainly from his celebrity status. I don't think so much from his rap status. I know 42 Doug, I talked about him in my documentary being locked up. He was recently released from prison, and, he had some songs going, but I don't know how that's going to translate, especially in the free world, if 42 Doug will have that same hype behind him. I know Ruby Rose had a couple songs that she was doing her thing for a minute, but I haven't heard too much new music from Ruby Rose. I don't think she has that same hype behind her, at least for music. I think she's really pretty. I think she could probably go start a business or continue with her OnlyFans or whatever she's doing. But I think she ultimately needs to just hang up music. I don't think it's for her. I think Blast is really dope and is one of the few artists on this list that actually are really talented, who really deserve to be on this list, who really earn their spot. Not saying people don't deserve it. I think everybody on this list worked extremely hard to get to where they're at. But when you talk about Blast and the music and everything he's done in the last year, I don't think anybody on this list is really matching up to what he's done or what he's currently doing. Maybe with the exception of Pooh Shiesty and a 42 Doug. But I don't really see too many other people. Even a Coi Leray or Flo Milli, but just not a lot of hype, not a lot of, as much recognition around them as Blast has. So shout out to Blast. Please keep doing your thing. We love your music over here at Life as We Know It. Pooh Shiesty was making a lot of noise and just couldn't stop making dumb decisions. So he's currently locked up, but definitely deserved to be on the list in my opinion. Has been doing his thing and will probably continue when he gets out of jail, hopefully with a new mindset. Tusi, I see him on social media all the time. I know the ladies love him, so I know he does his thing. But another sing rapper, really confused as to even why he's on here. Same with Blast. They're not really rappers, they sing rap, but I guess it considers or constitutes being called rap, so it makes sense, I guess. Coi Leray, not a lot of hype. I know this list is only 2 years old, but I just don't see the hype following Coi Leray. I know this happens to a lot of artists, but just another artist I don't think is really going to shine well over time. I think she'll still have a lot of buzz. I still think she'll have a lot of hype because of who she is and because who she's been with. She's pretty, so I'm sure she'll get that recognition, but I just don't see it for her musical talent and her music making abilities. However, with Flo Milli, I feel like it's the complete opposite. I think Flo Milli is one of those artists that has the total package and is going to continue to shine and grow. And I think in a couple years, we'll probably still be talking about Flo Milli. But overall, I think most of these artists on this list are not going to be relevant. DDG will be relevant for his celebrity status. I think Blast will be recognized for his music. Same with Tusi, same with Flo Milli. But I don't think too many other people in here are going to really be remembered. I think there's just probably going to be another rapper if we look at this list in 10 years. But only time will tell. Let's keep it going as we begin to wrap up on the last two covers. As we approach the end of the video, almost not quite there yet, we're upon the 2022 freshman class cover. Now this cover is from last year, so not too much commentary on it. I'm really probably just going to focus on who's on it and do I actually see them continuing to be relevant in the next 5 or even 10 years from now in the music industry. Jumping right into it. The list includes Baby Tron, Coochie, Saucy Santana, Babyface Ray, Ken the Man, Sofago, Big Scar, Big 30, Casey, Doechii, Cali, and Nardo Wick. Now just off a rip, I think they picked a lot of good people for this list. I know there's more than 10 people on this list. I want to say there's a total of 12. Maybe I miscounted, but I think Babytron definitely deserved to be on this list. I don't think he's going to want to rap in a couple years, but this guy also raps his ass off. I'm sure he punches in, but bar per bar, I can't name a song where Babytron hasn't snapped or just said something crazy. We got Babyface Ray. I think is another guy that's probably still going to be relevant. I don't know if he'll still be making movies or if he'll be making films, but I could definitely see him doing more than just music. Also independent, doing his thing, so shout out to him. I think Sofago is another artist that's really dope. I know he signed to Travis Scott. He's kind of in that melodic rap category as well, but I think he makes really good songs, and I think he'll still be relevant in a couple years. I think Casey as well. Casey, I've been hearing singles from him. I know he was featured on Travis Scott's new album. Really dope. If you haven't heard his songs, I definitely recommend checking them out. Super fire. Doechii, super fire. I think she'll for sure be around, not just because of the team and who she has around her, but just from her music. Same with Cali. Cali, I got hip to her kind of late, but Cali has some very fire songs. I think she'll do her thing. And even a guy like Nardo Wick, I think Nardo Wick will be able to go on tour and do his thing in the South. I don't think he'll be mainstream for too much longer or like too much of the big screen, but I can definitely see Nardo Wick really doing his thing. Oh, I don't know who Ken the Man is, but I'm not gonna speak on her music mainly because I've never heard of it. I've never heard of her, but the name kind of threw me off. I heard it was because she thought she could go bar per bar, but with man, and not saying thought like she can't do it, but you know, really interesting backstory. Big Scar, Big 30, rest in peace to Big Scar. I don't think that those two are going to be around for too long. Not saying pass away or deceased, but just musically, I don't see that being music people continue to want to listen to. Same with Coochie, same with Saucy Santana. I think it's one of those things where it's a wave, it's a moment, and you know, in a couple years, I think that moment is going to pass. But ultimately, I think XXL did a decent job with this list, and let's keep going to the final cover. Now, jumping right into the last cover, I'm not going to say this is my least favorite cover. It's the most recent. Ultimately, I think time is going to tell how this list ages and how it grows. But I do think that this list right here is going to probably be one of the most interesting covers, especially based off the history of XXL and where it started in 2007, ultimately to where it is now. This list includes Finesse 2 Times, Glorilla, Lola Brooke, Rob 49, Friday, 2 Rare, Sleazy World Go, Central C, Real Boston Richie, Lil Tyler, Tia Corinne, fan voted 10th spot winner DC the Don. Now I'm gonna tell you off rip, I don't think Finesse 2 Times is gonna be an artist that's super relevant, especially in the next 5 years. I think he's probably still gonna be rapping. I'm sure he'll still be doing things, but I just can't see him being super relevant, super popping in the mainstream outside of internet antics. Same with Glorilla. I think Lola Brooke is dope, and I hope she's still popping in 10 years. I would marry Lola Brooke. She's super fire. Shout out to you. Keep making your music. I'm really a fan. Rob 49. not the biggest fan, not the biggest critic. I think he has a couple songs, but I just can't get with his sound. It's like a weird New Orleans, but almost like Detroit or some type of mix with it. So I don't know. I'm not really feeling it too much, but shout out to him. I know he has a song with Skilla Baby and Tay B I like, and yeah, hopefully he's doing his thing. Friday, super dope, but like I said, another R&B singer that I feel like they're trying to push more into the rap category. I know rap and R&B are kind of blended. R&B is kind of dead, but I wish they would start pushing R&B artists as R&B artists again. That's definitely something that I miss in the music industry. Too Rare is somebody that I believe probably shouldn't have even been on the cover. I don't know what the freestyle was. I don't know what the dance was. I don't know what he was doing. I know he's probably having fun. I know he represents good energy, but just not the biggest fan, especially when we just had Kendrick Lamar on this same cover. Sleazy World Go, I think he is very hard. He has a lot of bars. He can spit. Even his freestyle was fire. He did his thing. So shout out to Sleazy World Go. Central C, fire. Real Boston Richie, I think he has some songs, but I'm not the biggest fan. I do like Wiz Heaven. I know they're from the same place. I think Wiz probably won't be on this list for 2024, but I can see him being on the 2025 list. Hey, hopefully, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's on 2024. Lil Tyler, well deserved. He's been going hard all year. Tia Corinne been going hard all year. I know she's on tour right now. She's doing her thing. Last but not least, we got DC the Don. Now, my nephew sent me a couple songs. The songs that I heard weren't bad by this guy. I didn't know who he was at all. Shout out to him for making it and doing something to make himself proud, make his dreams happen, but definitely didn't see why he was on the cover. Not the biggest fan of his music. Seems very repetitive, seems very Uzi-esque, very Playboi Carti-esque. So I just hope that, in some capacity we can just get away from that. I'm kind of oversaturated with it, all the little pumps and the clone Majin Boos, and what's the guy's name? The pink hair guy that was running around, Kid Boo or whatever his name was. Like, I'm just tired of the pink hair, red hair clones, and kind of just want to get to some real music again. I feel like that's really missing in the industry right now. But ultimately, I think we have to see how this list ages. This list is essentially saying that these are the new up and coming rappers, and all eyes is on us. I also find it interesting that one of the things that this cover mentions is AI rap songs. So I'm very curious to see how that happens and how that changes, especially with so many artists in the industry these days and labels losing so much money on rappers. But I think this list is probably not going to age too well. I don't think a lot of these people are probably going to be relevant, but ultimately we have to just wait and see. I think the XXL definitely has to focus more so on actual creativity and not so much popularity. The one thing that I will say, I know all the artists on this list have been popular, and that's why they got the attention to be on the list. But I think there's a big difference between clout and, actual popularity because of an art form. And I think we have to go back to that separation. A lot of the artists on this list that are really on here because they're big on social media or because they had a viral moment, as opposed to actually making really great music and being able to continue to create that music even after the popularity simmers down. I think there's a few people that are still actively doing that. Perfect example is like The Baby, no matter what has happened, cancel culture, all the bullshit that's happened, his end, other people's end, whatever you may call it, the guy has still consistently put out good music. It may not be the most popular, but it's his art form, it's creative, it's entertaining, and it's lyrical in a lot of aspects. And everyone has to be lyrical, but just to be creative and put something original out, it takes more time and energy. And I feel like when you're focused on just clout and trying to stay relevant, it's really hard to do that. Same with Polo G, same with Blast, same with Baby Tron, same with Babyface Ray, same with Gunna, same with Trippie Redd, same with JID. The list goes on. I could go through the list and name all the artists that I feel like truly encompass that. But, really, I feel like it's on the labels to really take the time, not just develop artists and just try to throw money bags at them to get them to sign and help the label start generating money. But I feel like they really have to invest in the artists and make sure they're aware of what they're signing up for. And also, not just being in the industry to try to get a quick buck. Music was initially created as an art form. It's the music business, 80% business, 20% music. But at the end of the day, you do need the art form in order to make sales. And I just feel like a lot of these artists these days aren't really making sales because they're not executing on the art portion. Hopefully things change, and like I said, we'll see how a lot of these artists on this list age and how their careers play out. This is Life as We Know It. If you guys enjoyed the content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We truly appreciate it. I know it's been a minute. I had to have a procedure done on my mouth, so I haven't been able to record or talk as much. So if you hear me talking funny on the video and you've listened to the end all the way, just know that that's why. We truly appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm really appreciative for you guys. Please be sure, like I said, like, comment, subscribe. This is Life as We Know It. And until the next video, I am out.